We connected this week after I posted a video which was based on a video by Albia and Natalia. I'd love it if you'd start by introducing yourself.
So I'm loyal. I'm from Lebanon. I've been living in Dubai for the past 10 years, and I've been teaching dancing for around 10 to 12 years approximately. And yeah, basically, I saw your video. I was super impressed with how you are tackling this matter, this very important matter. And then I said, why not connect with you and take it further? I think the dancing world needs a bit more clarity on this topic, and it's nice that we have both sides here in this conversation. So thank you for this talk, really.
Absolutely. No, thank you. So I'll just quickly introduce myself too for anyone who's listening. So I'm Ricky or Victoria on Instagram. I qualified as a lawyer in Australia, and one of my areas of specialty is working with domestic violence survivors and generally kind of women's rights and human rights. So this is a topic that's super interesting to me too, and I think we don't talk about it enough. I also do work with intimacy and boundaries with women and men, and I have a podcast where I help women who are survivors of sexual assault recover from trauma. So all of these things kind of are super important to me. And I think having these conversations can really change things. And I kind of see myself as a bit of a conduit between the opinions and views that men and women hold and bringing us together so we can have these conversations.
Yeah. After our quick chat yesterday, I thought like it would be great to record the session actually and to share our ideas with the world. I believe this topic sometimes can be treated as a taboo, or it can be treated as some mistakes from both parts, whether it's like males or females in the community. And like I think we wanted to clarify, or after brainstorming a bit, what's a mistake, what's not a mistake, what are the boundaries, what's okay, what's not. So I think it would be cool to talk about this for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And the issue that was raised in the video by Albia and Natalia is kind of a clear example of, for me, what sits more at the extreme end of the spectrum, which in depending on which country you would sit in, as we would be in, would potentially be viewed as more of a sexual assault. And then there's all of this other conduct that happens in dancing, which isn't at that extreme level. And I think that's kind of where I feel like it's the most useful to talk about, because I think I was saying to you yesterday, I feel like we have, in some ways it feels safe for us to talk about and put everyone who's doing kind of bad things in one group and say, oh, well, they're all just bad people or monsters or people we can't help. You know, they're not watching these videos, they're not engaging in these conversations anyway. But yes, in some ways I agree with that. Like, those people are the difficult ones to help, and we don't necessarily have the tools in the community to help those people. But there's so many other things and other conversations we can have, and there's so many people just like accidentally doing the wrong thing, or just not understanding the signals from the other person, or coming into the dance community. And if we speak specifically about, you know, festivals and like Douceur, you know, that kind of like past 4 a.m. in the morning type moments that we're having, if we kind of focus on that, like if you're a new dancer and you come and you see that, I mean, what are you seeing? I mean, what, because people will see things and they'll kind of figure out patterns if they're not taught how to act in those situations. So that as well for me is really interesting. Like, what patterns, and this is part of the video that I made, like what patterns are you seeing? What do you think they mean? And then can we kind of share, well, okay, for me, this means this, and it might mean something completely different to you, or you might have thought it meant something completely different.
Yep. So basically, we want to be here as practical as possible. We don't want to talk about the theoretical part because that's the easiest thing to do. We know that in festivals, things are intense, emotions are
Yeah.
intense. We are dancing and meeting new energies. We connect on a very high level. When we talk about Douceur, it's super close, it's super intense. So it would be, yeah, nice to see until which extent we can go in a Douceur, let's say, in terms of me with my partner, or in terms of what the ambience is in general. So to answer you, for example, from a male perspective, when I'm dancing Douceur, I always try my best to not to push the boundaries whatsoever, but
Yeah.
I try to take it easy, step by step. based on the comfort of my partner for sure. So I would say a lot of, unfortunately, like men are not patient, and that is
Mm,
not acceptable. They want to jump steps. I mean, again, to be realistic, sometimes, yeah, you have a very close connection and you might have certain emotions, but that's
yeah.
not okay to skip steps in a way that is without consent, let's say.
Yes.
So I would say, as everybody is saying, you start kind of a bit far, then you see the reaction of your partner. If the reaction is inviting to get a bit closer, and I
Yeah.
repeat, a bit closer,
Yes.
then
Bit by bit, little bit.
bit by bit, exactly. And then things can progress, but slowly, and you will feel from energy. I think everybody feels what the partner is feeling. I hope at least you feel, but some people just don't respond. They go, they have a plan and they go full on. And that's what we talked about. Some people are not there to dance, and we know this. Some people are there
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
hook up, and the intentions are different. So therefore, like also like for females, I think it is very important to set boundaries in multiple ways and to be a bit firmer in what we are hearing in terms of stories.
Yeah. So I love what you said initially as that point. I think this came back from a lot of men. So many men responded to my video, which I'm just so, it makes me so happy that this conversation is something that we're having. And even though you can't necessarily see, because sometimes when you do this work, right, you don't actually see a lot of the conversations that are happening. And I always operate on the belief that I don't need to see and know everything that I'm achieving. And I believe that there's so many conversations happening behind the scenes that I'm not seeing. And a lot of women reached out to me too and said, "Oh, I'm so excited to see what the men say. I hope there's lots of commentary." And I just want to say there really was. A lot of it was just directed to me privately, private message. And I think there's a lot of fear from men around saying the wrong thing publicly, especially on, public posts. And that doesn't mean that they're not having those conversations. And one of the most basic things that came back, which I love, because I love practical techniques that we can actually just use, is a lot of men just said, when I start dancing with my partner, I take their hand and then I just let them determine the distance between me and them rather than, connecting and then pulling them into the distance that I think they should dance at. And I love that concept. For me, that's such a simple initial step we can take. One other thing that came up a lot in this is like in the reverse is that women are also some women, because this is not just one way gendered either, this topic. It's like this is an area where this is really happening both ways. A lot of men said to me, yeah, well, like I'll dance with a woman and then they'll just like stick to me or hug me really tightly or immediately start doing the massages, which we have to be mindful of both, that both genders are paying attention for how close they want to be to that person. And then you with things like, this touching that happens, just, and when I say touching, I'm not talking about anything. I'm just saying, if you move your hands in Douceur to kind of maybe create like a slight body roll, or, if the music, or you're changing positions and it creates that space. Yeah, it's something as well, I would say, like you said, like a loyal, like don't start doing that. Don't start dancing with your partner and then start massaging their back. It's not appropriate, create the connection, safety. And this also doesn't have to be, what we're not talking about is necessarily with an intention to have something more with this person. We're just talking about in a dance context where there's levels, right? So there's like, I start dancing with someone I've never met and I have no trust with that person. So I give them some space, but then we dance, we really enjoy it. We can tell because the person's coming closer to us, or they feel very relaxed, or they're also just gently moving their hands. These are all ways we can assess from our partner, like, oh, okay, this person is responding to the things that I'm doing in a way that I think means that they feel safe. So I can create a little bit of a closer connection, or I can also move my hands. And it's not doing anything inappropriate. It's still within the scope of what would be a professional way to dance with someone.
Definitely, definitely. Dancing should be a safe space for both. Definitely, both should feel secure and like, especially women, when you like these back massages that you are talking about. I would say in a practical way, like if I want if I feel that it's something that is convenient for this moment, I will maybe try something extremely soft in the beginning. Some people,
Yeah.
of course, some people love it, not only like it.
Yeah.
So if things felt right, well, we can go for this and see the reaction. If we felt the repulsion, hopefully the leader should like calm down, or even like the follower. And then like it's a continuous assessment, I would say, really, because some people also take it to the next level. They can dance nose to nose and feel secure in a
Yeah.
safe space. Some people can hug a bit tighter, and like I would say there is no fine lines or fine boundaries. They are continuously defined from both parties. Um, and again, as we talked yesterday, like we as dancers who go to festivals, etc., like we will meet eventually somebody, I think, from the dance scene, if that's our
Yeah.
life and we are passionate about this. So for sure, to take this topic to the next level, for sure you will be meeting and connecting with someone and being intimate with someone, usually from this community. But we talked about something very important yesterday, which was like communication. Like for me
Mm.
as a leader, I try my best to talk, you know, if let's go further. Okay, let's go further. As I told you yesterday, I'm a person or a man who takes their time in general to connect deeply with anyone. That's me. I know it's not the case of a lot of leaders,
Yeah.
but for me, I like to take everything step by step. So whenever I feel like I'm really connected to someone and maybe I want to explore this person more or get to know them, personality or whatever it is, I don't mind. Let's say whatever. I would I would really, in my conversation, in my selection of words, for example, start by asking them if they would like to have a chat. Let's say if they
Yeah.
would have to get to know me better. Maybe they are not interested. Maybe they are with someone.
Mm.
Maybe they are. But I won't jump, and as we hear, unfortunately, like we hear invitations to rooms after 2, 3 dances, which is for me, it's not okay. As a For me, in my opinion, maybe for other people or opinions, it's fine. For me, I would say like, come on. I know you don't
Yeah.
probably you don't know the name of this person. Okay, the connection is on a very high level, but still, like I would go out, I would talk a bit, I would see how this is going. And yes, if both parties are okay, I don't mind.
Mm.
Let magic happen everywhere. But this is a very delicate and sensitive topic, honestly. So I don't find it okay after 2 dance that the man or the woman like says, "Yeah, let's go, vamos." You know,
Yeah.
let's be gentle. Let's see where the border of our partners is. Let's be considerate a bit more, you know, because
Yeah.
a lot of people, unfortunately, are refraining of coming to festivals or to parties or whatever because of this behavior. And this is very sad. Like we have a lot of friends and we are hearing a lot of sad things. Why? Like take it easy. I,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for me, when that has happened, it's felt kind of like, that person was feeling something very different to what I was feeling. It's kind of disappointing. It's like, I was just enjoying the dance and this person had a different motive. It kind of sad for me. It makes me feel like, okay, it was something different to what I thought. And the other thing that I want to say within that is like, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding with how, especially, and again, we're talking about like Douceur very early in the morning, the where the limit to the dance is, right? So also, I've had times when I've been dancing with someone and I've really been enjoying the dance and I feel really safe with them. And then they start, and actually a lot of women have come forward in the last few days and said they hate all the neck touching. So I think this is a super risky thing to do, actually, as a lead. I hear a lot of women are doing this to men as well. So I guess it goes both ways. But I think, anything outside where you would normally touch someone for dancing, because if you normally have your hand on their back and you're maybe moving your hand a little bit to the music, that's what I'm referring to when I say the massages. But as soon as you're, starting to stroke someone's shoulder or you're moving up to their neck, I mean, to me, this is really outside of the dance. This is
Not
like,
very dancey moves, let's say.
right. I mean, you're just touching someone. You're just touching someone and you're taking a risk on the assessment that you've made that you're okay to do that. So if you get to that point, and there's sometimes someone's touching your neck and it's okay, you have trust with that person, maybe you've known them for years or you've had a relationship with them in the past and they know it's okay to do that. But if someone is doing that and you're getting to that level and then you stop the dance, but you want to continue talking to them, sometimes it seems quite odd to have been at that level and then you come apart and like you said, you're like, oh, what's your name? It's almost like we're doing all of these normal social interactions that we would do in dating in the wrong order. So it can be quite confusing. There's been times when I actually have really felt like, oh, I really like this person and I would like to get to know them in a more serious or formal way. And within dance festivals, there's not really a space to do that because often we're in the middle of nowhere. There's no other bar. There's just the hotel. So even if you did want to say to the person you're dancing with, oh, do you want to get a drink or do you want to go for coffee? It's dance festivals are so hectic. I mean, how do you take those next steps? So I think a lot of it just happens on the dance floor instead because people are like, oh, we've only got 3 days here and I like this person. Like, so it's all sped up in a way
Yeah,
and mixed together within the dance.
it's true. Yeah, time pressure, time pressure. You don't have time. You have 3 days to live in this parallel universe, let's say, of excitement, of energy, of connections, which is not real life, and we want to shove everything in it to have like the best experience ever. And sometimes we put pressure on ourselves also, and we take decisions that we don't want to based on this time pressure, for sure, for sure. I just wanted to also highlight something that I'm really loving the fact that some festivals are allocating some people to make sure of the safety of both parties, mainly women, in case
Okay.
something like this is happening. I'm seeing more and more in festivals that I'm attending or teaching at, and
Mm,
this is lovely because this private like contact with somebody who is an expert or at least can inform the management or can inform the organizers
yeah.
that something is off, be careful of this guy or this lady
Yeah.
or whatever. This is important,
Yeah.
I would say, and we are seeing it more and more. I hope it will stay this way, and I hope measures will be taken on whoever has confirmed whoever really did something wrong. Like sometimes we
Yeah.
see a lot of leniency, but there
Mm,
shouldn't be. There shouldn't,
no.
especially for leaders, even if there are lack of leaders. One bad leader with his energy can influence the whole festival, and we know this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I was talking to, because I'm quite new to dancing in Europe, and I was talking to a friend she's European, she's Spanish, and I was talking about someone, and she said, he's on the lista roja, he's on the red list.
No.
And I was like, oh, that's fascinating because I don't know who's on that list because it's not my dance background. And there's this concept in women's safety of, I think it's called the missing step, the missing stair. And it's this concept that women traditionally have just had to tell each other, oh, be careful of him, he's
Mm.
dangerous. And that's the only structure we've had to protect ourselves because there's been really very few formal structures and we still see that in the dance community. I agree with you completely, Loyal, that there's not a lot of action taken against people and we have to have the right evidence, and things should be taken, action should be taken formally against anyone who's sexually assaulting people. And I think we sometimes blur that line in, we don't have the understanding around what that actually means in the dance community. It might be another video rather than this one, because I could talk about that for a long time as well. But, generally, like what we would call a sexual assault, I think in most countries in Europe would be, touching anywhere, we know to be genitals, bum. And then there's all the kind of things that lead up to that. But when those things happen, and that example that Natalia used in her video, I'm always cautious to use those words because I know how much they hit people when you think about it like that. But I think it is important that, men and women start using that terminology when we talk about things at that extreme level, because that's the that's the way that we allow organisers to take it more seriously. If we're distinguishing between, okay, this is maybe someone just being a creep and we can handle that within the community, but when someone's going around after being told twice not to touch you, firstly, they shouldn't be touching you in those areas anyway. But secondly, in that example that was given, he'd been warned twice and continued to do it. So, that really is something that's, to me, would be able to be dealt with by the police.
For sure. And I want to take a step back of these extreme cases. And I want just as a man to talk also about what is a mistake and what is not, because it's very important. As we said, the in-between is a bit unclear. It's
Yeah.
okay to ask anything, I would say. Anything,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Of course, there's a way and there's an approach, but like I was talking with someone yesterday, she told me that I don't mind if somebody wants to shoot his shot, like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
completely fine. Okay, but if it's still verbally and it's a suggestion or it's a question as simple as this is fine. Some people are more direct than others, okay, in a
Yeah.
way, okay, but the mistake happens when the actions start to negate this answer that you receive. This is where I think
True.
there is a mistake, there is misunderstanding, which should be fine. Sometimes we also understand some things differently, but the action is the problem. If the action is off, that's where, oh, that's a red line for sure.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not saying like, okay, leaders or men or whatever, don't say anything, be angels or whatever. It's a very sensitive dance. We know it. If you
Yeah.
go to Kizomba and you are into connection, you are entering a big world. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the duty of the influencers, it's the duty of the people who are really influencing this dance to create this safe vibe. I'm talking about organizers, artists, taxi dancers, each and every person. And it's wonderful that like many topics were arising this past year, as I told you, like about this topic.
Yeah.
It has been going more and more viral, let's say. It's good because we want everybody to come back and to enjoy and not to think so much and missing the beauty of this dance, to be on alert. Who wants to be on alert all the
Yeah.
time?
Yeah.
But really, I think this to tell somebody from the organizers that something is off with this guy. I tried to talk to him. He is still la la la. This is important, and
Mm.
it should be in all festivals. If this is committed fully after clearly have evidence and everything clearly, okay, he should be banned for sure.
Yeah. I often talk to men about is the differences in reactions as well between men and women, which are just very much conditioned into us. And these depend on cultural background too. But to your point you made in the very beginning of this conversation, empowering women to take action when something's happening to them that they don't like. And, Albia was having that conversation with Natalia around, well, end the dance. And in the comments of that video, I put some reasons why women don't feel comfortable ending dances. And a lot of those are just conditioned into us. But a lot of it is because also, it's not always in an extreme circumstance, you'll end a dance. That's fine. It's easy to make that decision. But there's so many other reasons why you might not feel comfortable ending a dance. And I think from the conversations I've had with men over the last couple of days, something that kept coming up too is a lot of them kept saying, but a lot of women are happy for, the neck tickling and the shoulders touching. And I absolutely agree with that. That's true. But, and then they were kind of saying, yeah, I mean, they're okay with it and they don't do anything. And I was kind of saying, yeah, that's true. But how do you know that just because someone isn't saying no or isn't leaving the dance doesn't mean they were okay with it? And how are you assessing whether this person is okay with it? This is the comment I made in my video. So for me, if someone crosses the line, my first reaction will be to just not move. And I don't know that that's a necessarily common reaction for men to have in a situation where they feel threatened. I mean, we know we have freeze reaction, right, as a trauma response, but I think it's much more common in women. So I don't know that men are often live to that. So in a situation where you're dancing very slowly early in the morning, are you necessarily going to notice that your partner's stopped moving? And it's like thinking about the risk of if you've got your partner in a bear hug and you're touching their neck. Okay, from that person's perspective, how easy is it for them to tell me they don't want that thing to continue?
Wow, lovely question. And I can tell you that really different women or different followers react differently for sure. And when you are dancing very slow, sometimes it might be tricky to know the exact reaction. But the good part is like some followers make it clear, like, hey, like stop,
Yeah.
like when they freeze in a way that is not a dance freeze, you know what I mean? Like, stop this action or we will stop. Like you have two options, and I heard
Yeah.
about this options. And unfortunately, imagine I heard so many times after giving these two options to men, they go back to the same move or same, like it's crazy for me at least. Like respect, come on. So
Yeah.
it is a bit tricky to detect, and it's both jobs to as a woman, you need to make it very clear you are not comfortable. Yeah, you continue like this, even in life, you are not comfortable. You
Mm.
continue living this way. It's not an option, or it's not something nice to live. Yeah, to live in, So make it clear, I would say, for the followers and guys, control yourselves a bit. Like really, like I don't know what to say. I know it's intense. I know it's super close, but there's the breathing. It's a great indication of what your follower is feeling. There is sometimes, unfortunately, you also feel some shivering, like they are really uncomfortable.
Oh, okay.
Of course, for sure. And this is when it gets a bit more. So you feel from the flow is changing whenever you had the flow, and then you are as a leader taking the
A little bit
level
higher. Yeah.
up, you will feel that, how come now she's not dancing anymore? The same way or
Yes.
not flowing. So you need to put these questions on the
Yeah.
table to see
And
what's
just to be clear, you're not talking about, being a creep or touching someone
no, no,
inappropriately. You're
no,
just
no.
talking
Before,
about like where you maybe are dancing with someone and you go a little bit closer to them, or the music changes and the hug is slightly tighter, or maybe you move your hands in a way that a woman kind of, for whatever reason, we don't always know. And sometimes it's not even about you. It might just be about her, a previous experience or something.
for sure.
She changes and you're always kind of monitoring that to assess whether she's still
And
interested in dancing in that way.
like a very good way is to propose and see if you'll get a response. If you don't, why are you proposing more? Why are you pushing more? Let's know it. Well, maybe she will be ready in 2 minutes. You will burn everything because you
Yeah.
cannot hold your emotions, and then maybe she doesn't want. Like as simple as this. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I might just add there for any ladies listening, so some techniques I use to indicate that I don't like the minor escalation or something, has just made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. Sometimes I just stand up more straight, like in more of a salsa position, rather than, connecting in with my chest. Make sure my hips are back. I generally don't connect in that area anyway. But if I, was feeling more comfortable with someone, I maybe take a little bit of a bigger step back. I kind of actually find, even if I know this sounds a bit woo woo, but I actually just think in my head, and because I feel like it translates to my body. If I think in my head, I am not comfortable with that, please don't do that to me again, it somehow translates through my body to the partner. And I feel like men often get that. If I'm like, no, not that, they will pick up on that sense. The other thing is, like, if you're in a closed position, you feel like you can't get out and you're kind of like, oh, this is not fun, is just changing your arm positions onto the top of the person. Or if you've got one under, you can change below. Just changing arm positions sometimes breaks the lead out of that, whatever. Because sometimes the leads are just, actually, it's not even about you. They are just really enjoying the music and they're like in a moment. There's not an intention to make you uncomfortable, but they might have just become very comfortable in the moment. And then you're reading something in a way that it wasn't intended. And if you can just snap them out of it for a sec, they kind of come back to the room and realize, oh, okay, she's not comfortable with that.
true, and honestly, this happens. And I once I pushed by mistake a bit the boundary because I was so into the music. I just honestly speaking, I raised my hand a little bit to the neck area, and then I was into the music completely. Like I don't know
Yeah.
where it was. The connection was crazy. But after I realized she is not okay, I realized what I did. Like it was let's say a mistake, or it was not. like, yeah, I wouldn't have done it in another context, kind of. So yeah, I realized I did something wrong, and she made it very clear. Like she made it,
Yeah.
oh, then I kind of apologized with my body language because I didn't do something much, to be honest. I just raised my hand a little bit, not even
Yeah.
the neck, a bit below, but
You didn't
still, I
like it.
usually don't go to this limit. And I know I was 40, so I apologized in a very body language way, and she knew,
Yeah.
and we continued, and luckily the connection didn't break. And
Yeah.
but yeah, mistakes happen, but
Yes.
mistakes differ, like there are a wide range of mistakes. That's why I want to say, like, we are all humans, and
Yeah.
we surely do mistake in this critical area. We will take wrong decisions, but it's different, a mistake from another, for sure.
It
So
is.
I am also, like, I am guilty of passing a bit of limits, for sure. Might maybe I don't remember the exactly situation, but I may have misunderstood that
Yeah.
she's ready, let's say, to really be a bit more intimate, and I
Yeah.
was wrong.
Intimate
So
as in close.
close,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean a bit closer.
Yeah.
So it happens to be.
Yeah.
I really wanted to have this talk because I wanted to put all the scenarios out there, the
Yeah.
realistic, really the ones that uh, are out there. Like, I
Yeah.
consider myself as a well-raised kind of ethical person. So I try my best to show this also in my dancing.
Yeah.
But sometimes it is critical, to be very
Yeah. Yeah.
honest.
And I think it's, you kind of touched on this before. It's okay to like someone in the dance community.
For
It's
sure.
okay to fancy someone or want more with them. The risk is when you're doing it in a position where you're touching the person physically, because that is just much more risky, that the person is going to feel like they can't escape that interaction, or they don't have control over saying no to you. Whereas if you are doing it verbally, if you finish the dance and then you say, oh, I'd like to have a drink with you, or, do you want to go somewhere and talk? The risk of the person feeling like really yucky about that is much lower.
For
And
sure.
there's nothing wrong with asking someone out, and I think we
Yes,
we
and
can we can't conflate those two things.
that's true. I wanted just to mention one more topic. A lot of ladies also in the scene love intense dancing. Like, they
Yeah.
love it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And when you dance super intensely, some things might go, like, you are a bit more prone to have these misunderstandings. Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to say, like, um, when we push the boundaries, we need to expect also that we might face a bit of tricky situations, to say the least. I'm not saying wrongdoing or whatever, but
Yes.
we are playing on the limit of emotions, of instinct, of many things. So I would say, for the people who want to go there, you should have your weapons to know how to stop in case you like it. Okay, to
Yeah.
to to be able to communicate this, to know when, oh, somebody's passing the limit, and at the same time, like, not to over push it, because it's tricky also if somebody's really dancing intensely, and I will, for example, I don't know, out of a reaction, to put my hand on the neck or
Yeah.
whatever, and
Yeah.
then, for example, they will stop in a way that, oh, what you did,
It's
etc. This
inappropriate.
happens a lot.
Yeah.
So no, when we are
Yeah.
dancing on an intense level, it is on a fine line, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's critical. So just be aware, I would
Yeah.
say. Do it,
And
but be aware.
and just to put some context around that, because we talked about this yesterday, is like, for example, if you're, and a lot of men raised this with me as well in conversations I had. So if I am dancing with someone, and because all of this is like mini steps and it's reciprocation, that's how we're reading the nonverbal cues. And a lot of people said, oh, just be verbal about it, just ask. But I don't think that's realistic in a lot of the dancing that we're doing. And I think it's okay to rely on nonverbal cues, but we just have to be very careful and considered about them. So if I'm, for example, dancing with someone and they're moving their hands at me and I'm moving my hands back, and maybe I, in that moment, like that person and I am happy for them to touch my neck. And so I respond and I touch their neck. And then it is kind of, this is very much going somewhere other than the limits of the dance. It's like way outside the limits of the dance now. I'm pulling the person into my hips, whatever I'm doing, I think is what you're talking about in this sense, that if I'm doing that as if I'm reciprocating that, whether it's as a lead or a follow, whichever person is leading it and whichever person is reciprocating it, then I think it is important, if you're getting to that level, that you are, yeah, I agree with you, that you have some tools to know where you're able to stop it, so that you are, okay, I'm going to do this, and I know that that is a signal that the person is, that I'm reciprocating to this person. So how am I going to get to a point, or what's my limit that I'm comfortable with? And when I get to that limit, how am I going to tell this person to stop? And also acknowledging, like, I have engaged in this, so
True.
I can't then at the end turn around and be like, how dare you, once, if it's incrementally changing limits, not if suddenly there's a huge change in limit.
Yes.
Where it's absolutely not doing victim blaming anyone. But yeah, I think we just need to be like, okay, we are engaging in some conduct that is naturally flowing, and then we need to know where we're comfortable to stop it and how to do that.
Yeah, let's not forget human nature in parallel, right? I mean, in terms of we hopefully we have brains to think and to control ourselves, but there is a factor that is very natural. Also, we need to keep it in mind. I would say, like, we cannot neglect this completely. It's part of life, whether you are dancing or at a bar or whatever you are, or on the
Yeah,
street, or
yeah,
so like. Control is very important, but also considerate actions are important also from both sides, I would say.
yeah, absolutely, from both sides. Yeah, from both sides. So like, whichever partner it is, that's, you can't aggressively be rubbing yourself up against someone who's not reciprocating, I think, is the takeaway.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, I think we tackled a lot of
We did. Thank you so
important points.
much, Lo. I love talking to you today and yesterday. It's been amazing. And I so appreciate you having, you've obviously thought a lot about this, and you've got really valuable opinions to bring to the community. And I so appreciate you being open about talking about them as well.
Thank you. I would say it's not very easy to go and talk about this topic. Um, I'm happy that I try my best to, to do whatever I'm saying, or else I think in the comments it will reflect differently. But I try my best to live by what I think is right, because I really want everybody to have a safe community to enjoy, and it's a magical dance. It's a super dance. I've been dancing salsa and bachata for so long, and also a bit of zouk and a bit of different dances. But this dance is special,
It
extremely special,
is. It's
especially
special.
that I play like some instruments for some time, and I really love the details of this dance. So let's make it more enjoyable. Let's not hear anymore like from followers, I don't dance Douceur because I had so many bad experiences. Like, why? Douceur is magical also when
Yeah.
properly done. It's a meditation for two. Like,
Yeah. A meditation for two. I love
really,
that. And let's just say for the video, and for anyone watching as well, if any comments in this video did kind of trigger something, or you're finding yourself sitting there and you're feeling really angry at something we've said, or really frustrated, please reach out to either of us. I hope you're happy for me to say that, Loyal.
for
Please
sure.
feel free to reach out to us in private message. I'm always happy to hear other opinions, and we can do follow-up videos as well on certain things if we feel like they were misinterpreted. But but if anyone has any feedback for us, we are more than happy to hear it, and would love your opinions either on the video, and if anything, particularly like from the men, if there's any opinions that the men have as well, I'd love so much hearing from you. I say that because I hear from women a lot, and I don't hear from men as much as I have in the last few days, and I've really loved it. It's an amazing thing we're opening up here.
I just want to say thank you again for raising this very important topic, and thank you for your mission. I know that you do a lot in this field, not only in dancing, but everywhere, and you are always available for whoever needs your support. That really moved me, and I really appreciate what you're doing,
Thank
honestly.
you.
So
Thank you,
keep up the
Leo.
great work as well from your side.